Wise Astrology Tribe, Cosmic Insight Astrology. I am your co-pilot, Christina. Welcome back to my series and to my podcast. I'm going to talk about today about accidents in an astrology chart or in a transit chart, and what do we have to look for. And so first of all, I have to tell you a few indicators over here. Mars always representing speed in an astrology chart, if we are talking about accident. Saturn is always the brake in a vehicle, for example. Mercury, the planet Mercury, representing the vehicle inside, it's representing usually the cars. Pluto and 8th house is representing death, and the 4th house is representing ending and funerals. Uranus is chaos, unexpected. Uranus also representing airplanes and aircrafts, helicopters in astrology. Neptune is wet roads and also representing boats, for example. And Saturn is representing not only brake in astrology, but also trains as well in astrology. So when we are checking a transit chart or a birth chart and looking for accidents over there, or indicators for accidents and death, you have to check actually, for example, Uranus and Mars transit is always an unexpected death. So for example, Uranus-Mars opposition, Uranus-Mars squares, it is a bad astrological aspect which could create accident or prone to accidents in your chart. But of course, it depends which house, and not only the aspect, but what house and what sign is those planets are. For example, the 3rd house and the 9th house is representing traveling. 3rd house usually it's like domestic traveling or short trips, for example. 9th house, it's usually an overseas traveling, or it could be like a long distance traveling. So the 4th house, it's usually, it could be an accident at home, or it's some kind of ending a life, ending something, if it's affected by Mercury badly, or if it's affected by any kind of or malefic planet like Pluto, Mars, Saturn, or Uranus, right? So the 1st house and the ascendant also has to be affected by a malefic planet if we are talking about accidents. And then I'm going to talk about also drowning, because not all accidents going to happen in an airplane or vehicle, and I'm gonna give you examples, but it could be drowning as well. And it could be actually a hard aspect, some kind of hard Uranian aspect or Martian aspect with Neptune, with transit Neptune, or with natal Neptune. And it could be in 12th house, 8th house, or 4th house, because 4th house is ending, 8th house is death, 12th house is hospitalization. Or it could happen on your ascendant, which is also representing your body. And if it's badly affected, then of course it could be like a fatal accident over there. So let's talk about a few other things. The critical degrees and midpoints also very, very important. So for example, if you already have a bad aspect with Uranus and Mars in your natal chart, and it is in opposition, or it is in, for example, let's say you have Mars in your 3rd house, 9th house, Uranus, it's in opposition, right? And there is the midpoint. You're going to calculate the midpoint of those two houses, right? And it has to be around your, actually, let me see, the 9th house and the 12th house, 9th house and the 3rd house. So it's in the 12th house, end of the 12th house somewhere, and the midpoint. And if it's a malefic planet actually transiting that midpoint of Uranus and Mars, so Mars is transiting, Pluto is transiting, then it could become a fatal accident, or at least someone who has an accident going to get hospitalized and affecting the body. What else could happen? So for example, Uranus is an aircraft or airplane. So if you have Uranus and Mars conjunction, so Uranus is in your 9th house and you go to a travel, and for example, Mars is going to Uranus, for example, in 15 degrees in your 9th house. Let's say that. Mars is going to transit that Uranian energy, which is an aircraft in your 9th house, which is long-term traveling. And Mars is gonna go also in 15 degrees. 15 degrees is anyway associated with accidents. It's prone to accident degree. And then if that could happen, like, all right, so an aircraft can get on fire or an emergency landing. So some kind of fiery accident with that kind of aircraft there. You also have to check the critical degrees, the anaretic degrees in astrology. So what is that? Cardinal signs, for example, 0 degree, 13 degree, and 26 degrees. And those are the critical degrees of the cardinal signs. So what is the cardinal sign? That is Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, and Aries. For fixed signs, the critical degree 8 and 9 degrees and 21 and 22 degrees. All right, and what is fixed sign? That is Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus and Aquarius. And the mutable sign, the critical degrees are the 4 and the 17 degrees, and the mutable sign are Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Gemini. So, for example, if you have Pisces, 17 degrees Jupiter, which is a foreign vehicle, for example, or home, your home situation, and Mars is transiting over there, and it is in a square with Pluto somewhere, it could be a deadly accident at home through fire. Or it could be some big foreign car, or, you know, like the car is your home. So it could be like your trailer you are traveling with and could get on fire and through an accident. But as, so I'm going to just continue with examples over here. So for example, if you have Neptune in 3rd house, all right, and Neptune is representing 3rd house is road, Neptune is wet road, for example, and it is squaring with Mercury, or actually the transit Pluto or transit Mars going on Neptune, and those squaring with Mercury anywhere, it could be like, because of it's a hydroplanic accident, and because of that road, you could actually, if it's squaring with Pluto, that could be a fatal accident. But if it's squaring with other planet like Mercury, it is a car crash, but you know, it's not necessarily fatal then. It depends. If it's in 4th house, it could represent a funeral, or 8th house. If it's in 12th house and squaring with Mercury, you get hospitalized by the accident. All right, let's see another example, for example. So let's say you have Scorpio 22 degrees in 8th house, and it's, for example, Mercury in 22 degrees, Scorpio. All right, Mercury is vehicle. 22 degrees is by Nikola, it's kill or to be killed. So it doesn't matter, it could be killed by a car crash. But itself, this degree in your natal chart not going to do anything, unless if it's going to be triggered by a bad aspect, a transiting planet, Mars, Uranus, or if you have, for example, this kind of Mercury in bad aspect with Pluto or Mars, and then it's going to get in your natal chart, and it's going to get triggered the midpoint, or going to get transited by and conjunct with a malefic planet itself. So by itself, only one significator is never enough in astrology to create something devastating. You always have to look for multiple significator in astrology. All right, let's see something else. Let's see, for example, droning. All right, so droning also Neptunian energy. And actually, it could be like Neptune in 12th house, Neptune in 8th house, or 4th house. So it is like those are the houses where ending coming into, or hospitalization coming into our lives. And then it is Neptune will be affected either and triggered by a transiting planet, or has in natal chart a very bad aspect. For example, Neptune in 12th house in Pisces, and then it's going to square with Sagittarius in 9th house, and it's, for example, Mars in Sagittarius. So it could be like a quick drowning in a foreign country, because Sagittarius is foreign country and Neptune is water. So you traveled somewhere and it could be like, all right, there is a indicator to drown in the ocean or sea during this trip. And, you know, like there is multiple examples over here, and I'm gonna go with a few more. For example, 15 degrees is associated with accident. And, you know, Mercury actually in Virgo 15 degrees, it's exalted. It could be really beautiful and very welcoming energy. But if this Mercury in Virgo exalted position has a bad transit with any malefic, Uranus, it is also malefic, Uranus, Saturn, Mars, Pluto, as I said before, but it could be also like a conjunction or a square aspect with those transiting planets. Then it also could signify some kind of health devastating accident as well in your life. Accident, not only car crash, it's not only airplane crash. It could be like an accident, like a shooting, for example. So if you have any exalted Mars somewhere, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and then 28 degrees. So if it has a bad aspect with Saturn and your Mars in Capricorn in your 3rd house, yes, it is also, even if it's in exalted position and it's supposed to be beautiful over there, but if it has a malefic aspect, conjunction or opposition or square with the malefic planet, it is indicating accidents in your chart. All right, guys, so that's what I wanted to talk about the indicators in for accidents in our transit chart and progress chart. And, you know, never forget progress chart and solar return. So when I see something in my client chart and it is like very concerning, I'm not going to scare them. I'm going to check then for before I remind them, okay, be careful. I always going to say, be careful with driving, but I always going to check their solar return chart and their progress chart and solar arc as well. Why? Because if there is indicators as well, then I definitely going to tell, listen, I would like you to really be careful during this period and watch out or slow down or don't drive under influence. For example, driving under influence, it could be like Neptune in your 3rd house transiting, so it could be and have a bad aspect with Mars or Uranus or Saturn, because Neptune is alcoholism or drugs and 3rd house is vehicle and representing driving. And then Mercury, if it is with a bad aspect with Mercury, and that Mercury, for example, could conjunct with Mars, and that making a bad aspect with Neptune, it is driving under influence and creating accidents. So, but I never scare anyone. I always going to say, listen, I would like to be mindful because there is some indicators in your chart, and, you know, I would like you to watch out. And I had told my clients, and actually they've been saved. They still had the accidents, okay? But then that was not devastating because they were reminded, oh my God, she told me. So, you know, like they slowed down because they saw the danger coming. They were more aware than they were driving. All right, guys. So if you're planning a trip and you are concerned, it could be also a Horary questions, and I'm certified by Horary astrology as well. So if you are concerned about something, so you can make an appointment with me. Check out my website, which is www.urbanwitch.org. Thank you so much for your attention. and for listening and subscribing and liking my podcast. If you do so, then just make an appointment with me or just follow me on social media. I truly appreciate it, and I'm truly grateful for your support. Till we meet again. Bye.